What's up, WWE Champions Universe? This is Lee from Champions Chat. And this is just a little different video. Rusty and I were going to do a little podcast episode on it, but family things change. And so we're not podcasting today. Probably, here coming up either tomorrow, Sunday, or maybe it might be next week. Such is the life of, family and jobs. But I did want to say, so the topic we were going to go into a little bit and just kind of share here is that as far as we are being told, the communication pathways that Scopely is going to use for champions is changing. Specifically, we're not sure if there's going to be a blog each week or if things are going to be promoted more in-game. What I think, and this is just me, this is not any inside information on this, I think that the new Discord, which already has well in excess of 3,000 daily people, daily engagers, whatever the word is right there, is going to be utilized more. I think that the blog and possibly even the portal discussions are going to be used less. So I wanted to make this to say, don't freak out. Like, I heard somebody involved in this kind of say right off the bat, well, what if this means this is the end of the game? I don't think that's even in the conversation here. Like, as far as I've seen, and I have a little, just like that much more insight from behind the scenes than others, being an official CC, I've seen some of the roadmap and like things like the hype system. I don't know when it's coming out, but we know that hype is the new system that's coming to the game to kind of refresh some things that 7-star would not have. And I fully agree that that is the right way to go. I've played a few games, I've mentioned before, most notably Destiny, that have lasted for 10 years. And if you don't evolve while keeping the core systems the same, if you don't evolve the overall progress and systems in the game, it does stagnate and die. And so these type of efforts, I think, are actually very good things. But what does that mean for WCW, which, by the way, was done in the year 2000? And that means that most people who play this game and watch these videos only remember WCW as the way I remember the AWA, as a thing that kind of maybe existed when I was a kid, but nobody watched that crap, right? Sorry, lots of people did. But not in my lifetime, right? And same with that. So the weekend contest walkthroughs may be going away. Rusty and I might be able to get some information where we can share shorter updates on how the weekends are going to work. And I don't know for sure. I think this is still the conversation Scopely is having behind the scenes that I'm not involved in any way, shape, or form. But what I think will happen is, more like to the push notifications that are in the game and the Discord platform. Now, here's where I see precedent for this. I don't know of other games, and I only play a few. I'll be honest. Like WWE Champions has been my only primary focus in gaming for 7 years. 7 years. Like, it far eclipses what I ever invested in Destiny. It far eclipses maybe not my love for Final Fantasy, but certainly I bought Final Fantasy VII Part 2, the remake, remaster, the day it came. I pre-ordered it. I still have not loaded it one time. I've never played it. And a lot of that is when I have free time. That free time goes to friends and champions. And when Rusty's involved, those two things, go together, which is awesome. But I think this is actually needed. I don't know of any other game that does more than an occasional dev blog. Like, think about Nintendo. They do Nintendo Directs very infrequently. Games like the Wolverine. Like, I want that Wolverine game to come out. I think it's going to be amazing. I know very precious little about it. And once the game comes out, most updates are handled in the game itself. Because think about this, like our WCW videos average 500 to 1,000 views. So let's just go the high end route and be optimistic and say 1,000 players every weekend watch our videos. I don't know how many people are going on the blog. I know that the blogs often have 45, 50, maybe on a big weekend, 100 likes. But let's say another 5,000 are getting their updates from there. Theoretically, I don't know the actual numbers, but by all estimates I've heard, there are at least, if not more, 30,000 daily players of champions. And so a fraction of that community is getting any information at all. And as we know, the blog is notoriously subject to change. There have been weekends where things that we say in the WCW video, because we get the advanced version of the blog, is not what actually happens in game. And so we've always said, hey, make sure you understand that text item numbers and details are subject to change. Check in game for the latest progress updates and details. Yeah, because the in game is what actually is going to be happening. So I think it's going to be more asynchronous. I think there's going to be maybe that pop up like we get, like, hey, here's what's going on in this contest. And then you just look into the contest and see what's happening. And I think that's okay. The best mobile game correlation I have, and I didn't play it for long, but I've played it on and off for years, is Raid Shadow Legends. Like, Wrestle Talk actually got me on that one because they had a promo code and all that kind of stuff. And I'll be honest, when I log in, that's when I find out what's going on in the game. And I figure it out, right? I've got it there. I think that this is going to make conversations on Discord, like the Champions Chat Discord and the WWE Champions Scopely Discord. That one has 10% of what that one has. And this one came out like a month ago. This one's been out for a year. It's the official one. I understand. I get it. I'm not mad, right? But the understanding of getting your information through things like Discord, as opposed to a weekly blog, that is the way our world works a lot more. And your Raid Shadow Legends is the only time I know when a new character is like coming out is when it's Ronda Rousey. Like, I know that was a while ago, right? Or when it's like there's some big Shadow Dungeon update, or when there's some, like, once or twice a year, you get this big, everybody back in the pool. This is the time. Now there's something going on. Other than that, you just see little info blurbs in the game. It directs you to what it wants you to do from there. And I'm not on any Raid Shadow Legends Discord communities. I'm sure they're out there. There's got to be. If Champions has them, I'm sure other games do as well. I know other games do as well. I think that this is actually okay. What does it mean for Champions content? Well, we get a lot of views off of the WCW blogs. Not gonna lie, like, one, I love doing that. Like, literally, when we were becoming official content creators, like when we got the tap on the shoulder, there was like 3 months, maybe longer, I don't remember, where we got the tap that, hey, this is gonna happen, before it actually happened. And one of the first thing I told the community manager was, can we do blog reads? And he was like, really? Like, you want to do these? I was like, yes. Like, I loved watching Gerson, Goldie, and Merrick's. Those were the 3, pandemic era especially, that did blog reads. And I literally watched all 3 of their videos when they did a blog read. I love knowing what's coming up in the weekend. I love being able to plan that out. However, I also recognize that a lot of what went into the blogs is not stuff that actually I needed to go into that event. I could do well with the highlights. Like, it's great to know there's a new character coming out this weekend. Here's who he or she is. It's great to know how to get them, how many shards are going to be available, and things like that. But realistically, like, I don't need to know what every tour is going to be and every CSS, unless it's tied to something like a talent up. Like, hey, here's who you might see in the next feud, so make sure you do your talent up accordingly. But all of those things can be done in shorter form content. And let's be honest, the blog immediately gets copied by every faction I know of and thrown on their individual faction discords, and then people just start asking questions and talking to each other about it there anyway. So if there was a centralized discord conversation, and again, I don't have any inside information on this, but let's say there was a centralized discord conversation where the blog that would have been could be kind of thrown out in that like TLDR form. Here's the highlights for this weekend, and then people could ask questions, and maybe community type manager person could go in and say like, yeah, there's going to be 2,000 shards and she's a 5,000 shard unlock. Every faction starts chatting about that already anyway. They're like, okay, here's what we need, here's what we got, right? I think the number of things that are shared in the WCWs are amazing, or I guess I should say the blogs. We co-opted the branding of WCW since we have an NDA with WWE and can use certain assets of theirs. Why not do it? Why not brand around it, right? But I think this is a good thing. I honestly think it'll move communication forward. Communication needs to be streamlined in every environment. And let me just say this, as a person who has led in business, in church, and in community management aspects of a city, I don't care how many times you say something, there will be someone who says, I never heard that. I never heard that. Like literally, I worked for a church in Ohio that had a direct community relations person. That was their full-time job. And she sat down one time and showed us there were at least 12 ways that every single announcement got put out, whether it was Twitter, Facebook, whether it was in a insert that everybody would receive on a Sunday, whether it was on papers that hang by the toilets in the bathroom, whether it was a stage announcement, whether it was a video, whether it was a part of a text message thread, an email, like 12 different ways. Every single thing went out, and the overarching thought was, well, nothing gets communicated around here. Every organization, from when I was a senior accounts manager at Dell to working in my city, every organization I've been a part of, the number one issue is things aren't communicated well. Is removing a channel of communication going to help with that? I don't know, but streamlining communication might. And I think that's what it really comes back to. I think streamlining communication is usually a good thing, and things are still getting shared in multiple places, but share them in the places that make the most impact. And ultimately, here's what I always said and continue to say when people say, oh, this wasn't communicated. What I say is, no, it was communicated. We might not have heard it. Because the reality is all of us have 17,000 advertising messages coming at us every single day. And so things are easy to get lost in the noise. The reality is, if we want to know something, we go out of our way to find that information. Now, I'm not putting the onus on us. I'm not saying that, oh, you've got to now find everything out for yourself. How dare you? But what I'm saying is information will be shared. It will be shared in an effective manner. I truly believe that this leadership team from Scopely is capable and able to do that. But just keep in mind, there are so many distractions, so many other pieces of noise that if it gets lost, as long as we know where to find it, we're going to be okay. And honestly, the Discord conversations is where most of the insights happen. Like, I know some factions in there put, don't require Discord, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, you are shooting yourself in the foot. Seriously. Discord is where the conversation happens. It's the watering. It's like going to a job and all of the conversation happens around the water cooler, right? The old image of the water cooler, at least. People get news this way. Like, this is the way it works. So the way communication works is when we share it with each other. So TLDR, 15-minute video here, but TLDR. Communication is changing. I don't know what that looks like. There might be a total reversing of course, and all of a sudden blogs are on every single week again. But as far as I know, the EO Sky blog was the last one that we're doing in that same format. Champions will continue to try to provide those information. If we can still do weekend contest walkthroughs somehow, we will. And if they're 5-minute videos that are like, hey, here's the high points and here's what you need to know, instead of 30 minutes of Rusty and I bantering back and forth, then that's going to be great too. We will figure it out because we want to make sure that you're informed. We want to make sure that we are helping this community because I truly, truly like and love this community. And if it means that we see things in game as they happen, you know what? We're going to be okay. Ultimately, that's where most of us go to get the final say on things anyway, is we look in the milestones and say, oh, okay. Like I know we're getting 500 shards of this character this weekend, but where are they? Oh, okay, this many are before the gold chest. This many are after the gold chest. Now I know. Like, the blog doesn't say that. We go every week to find that information anyway, right? So this is going to be a good thing, ultimately. Our channel might take a little viewer dip for Thursdays, and that's been one of our anchor days. But you know what? We'll be fine. We'll figure it out. Like, we've never done this for views. I mean, it's nice, don't get me wrong, like it's cool. Like I never intended to become a YouTuber. It's fun. I enjoy it. It's my only hobby. But we'll all be fine, right? So don't freak out. Communication's always a struggle. It's changing. It might change for the worse for a minute before it changes for the better, but honestly I think in the long run this could be a very good thing. So in case I don't get to say it again, this was your WCW Weekend Contest walkthrough where the big boys and girls play. See you on the next one.